So we're gonna do a little story time today. I got my snacks as usual. It's like 11:30 at night. So by the time I upload this will be like, oh, hi, my diamonds. I know a little rough right now, but we're gonna do a little story time. Today, my story is basically gonna be like what I went through, depression wise, everything. Now basically how I built myself up. Because like I would say 5 years ago. Excuse me, y'all. All right. But I would say roughly 5 years ago, whenever my grandmother passed, just basically trying to fill you in on my life. When my grandmother passed, 5 years ago, I was pregnant with my daughter. Life was great, And next thing we went to Florence, went to go help out one of my friends or whatever, to go see her father. And then it was like I got sick, but I didn't want my grandma to pull over. So, like, she pulled over and, like, remind we was on the highway. This was on national news. So we was on the highway or whatever, and the lady had jumped lanes, basically. Excuse me. And she ran my grandma over 150 feet. Remind you now, it's pitch black, dark. I don't know where my grandmother is. The only thing I seen was her wig on the ground and a shoe. And something told me to run in front of this lady's car. And I did. And I couldn't do nothing but cry. And like, this woman, she was like, already, you could tell like she was on some type of drugs or drunk or whatever. And she basically was in her car, like she tried to drive off from the scene or whatever. And you know me, I'm ready, honey, I'm ready to fight you. I don't care if I'm pregnant or not. Like, honey, you took my grandma away from me. That was like my mom. You know what I'm saying? And I don't play them type of games. Like, with my family, I'll come 10 toes down. I don't care if pregnant or not. So something just told me my intuition was just like, no, don't go off on this woman. Just pray. So I was praying so hard, and like I seen the tears come from my grandma's face. Like, still to this day, it's still for unreal. So, and then remind you now I'm pregnant. So then here it comes. I was supposed to have my daughter February the 12th. I ended up having her February the 5th, which was my grandma's funeral. So I didn't have time to, grieve or whatever. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that I had to call my family and everybody because nobody was with us. So nobody didn't know. And I didn't have a phone at the time. But luckily, my grandma had a phone. One of them minute phones. Yeah, she had one of them phones. And I just called everybody. And I was just telling them like, oh my God, grandma just got ran over. I don't know what to do. Blase, blase. And I was just crying. And it took like, a lot of people don't know this, but I just recently just got over depression. I was so depressed when I'm telling you, it was like, okay, me, moving around, me dating these type of men, like I was just all over the place. Like it was just so astonishing to me when I look back on my life and all the stuff that I did. It just hurt me. So the one way how I cope with it, my grandmother always blessed my hands. So that's why I do hair. Look at the videos. You will see my hair videos or whatever. But it was just like, I was thirsty. But it was just like, at the end of the day, I was so depressed. I didn't know what to do. So one thing that helped me was that I started writing in my journal. and basically being a positive impact on my community. I do have a Facebook page for the community, which is Trapped in the Diamond Life. I'm also coming up with a journal to help women. It's basically, you know, the essence of a diamond. It's like a journal entry, but also I will be coming out with a book soon, but just wait on it. It's not here yet, but it's basically just telling my life story, everything else. But back to the moral of this video. You know, I was so depressed. Recently I just got over it. I was like, you know, shooken up. I would have nightmares. I would always feel like it's my fault. If anybody out there that have ever gone through a traumatic experience and you was there and you feel like it's your fault, baby, I'm here to tell you it's not your fault. Just always realize that you always will have somebody in the corner. If you don't have nobody in the corner, moi is here for you. But other than that, you know, I was just like, how can I say? I wasn't stable. I wasn't stable enough for my kids, but now I am, because of the simple fact, like, I didn't have time to grieve. And by me, you know, I'm not gonna lie, by me smoking and drinking and doing everything else, it was like my grieving process for me. But I had to take a step back on life and realize, like, do I want my little girl to grow up like this? Do I want my son to see, you know, all these different experiences that his mother is going through? Because I don't want my son to be disrespectful. I want him to grow up as a very much well gentleman. But it's just like so much stuff in my life that I felt like I couldn't, how can I say, I couldn't talk to nobody because nobody would understand what I went through. But back to the process with her in the hospital. Basically, my grandma was a vegetable or whatever. And, you know, I stayed with her. Family was up there, you know, staying with her in the hospital or whatever. And don't get me a line, I think it was like 3 or 4 days in with her like that the family made a decision to like take her off of life support because they don't want her to suffer. So with that being said, I didn't go in the room. I couldn't, because I already experienced the fact of seeing her take her last breath, doing CPR on her, being strong for the family, but I wasn't strong enough for myself. Like, I would smile, grin, you know, make it look like everything is okay, but everything wasn't okay. So now I'm to the point in my life to where I can talk about it now, even though sometimes, you know, it brings tears to my eyes, but I finally can talk about it. I have been through a lot. God knows. Lord, you know, your girl been through a lot. But other than that, you know, I'm just here to give y'all a piece of my insight about how, you know, depressed I was. I was so depressed to where I couldn't even get out of bed. I was so depressed to where I couldn't even look at my daughter the way I wanted to, because I was looking like my grandmother's life is taken away and here comes a beautiful baby. Now that I look back on life, I wish that I had, you know, fully giving my all to her. I'm not saying now, don't get me wrong now, I'm not saying that I was a bad mother. What I was saying was, feeling wise, like being depressed, going through postpartum, you know, it's a lot, especially over a grieving process, that a traumatic experience that you've seen. You know, a lot of people don't understand that, but sometimes we need somebody in our corner to just give us a hug, because a lot of people be like, it's going to be all right. Excuse me. A lot of people be like, it's going to be all right. But in our minds, we like, it's not going to be all right. You wasn't there. You don't know what I've been through. But with that being said, you know, times like that, you know, you have to write, because a lot of people is committing suicide over certain things that they see. A lot of people is committing drug addiction, you know, prostitution, just certain things that go on in their life that they feel like they don't have nobody to talk to or nobody to vent to, because a lot of people is out here judging. So that's why I didn't come out with my story until I felt comfortable with coming out with my story to let what was known happening. Until then, I love you, diamonds. Be blessed, be safe out there, and like it up, like it up, like it up, like it up.